to turn your cameras off if you prefer.
Actually, just put her over there. But
And just, I'll ask that you go ahead and mute yourselves during the presentation so that we don't hear any background noise and all of that kind of fun stuff. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. It's so wonderful to see all of you here today. I'm sure we'll be having others joining us as we progress throughout this webinar. And I just want to welcome our wonderful presenter, Jeanne Givelekian, who is the owner and founder of Purposeful Eats and also a holistic chef and nutritional expert. I am such a fan of Jeanne's. If you have not been on her website, you absolutely should. I'll be sure to drop that in the chat during the presentation. She has an amazing blog, tons of recipes, and great tips. And Jeanne, we're so excited for your presentation today. So I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of your institute and to have this feature today. So thank you for allowing me to just share a little bit about what I know. So as mentioned, our session today is to boost your energy using food or with food. So I have quite a bit of material to cover today. So feel free, if you have questions, you can put those in the chat section and we'll monitor those. And Gina, if you want to make mention of them while we're talking, that's fine, or we can wait till the end. But feel free to ask your questions there. At the end of our session today, I do have 2 recipes to share with you, and I've set up my kitchen so that way I can demonstrate it for you. So a little bit about myself. I started my journey over 20 years ago of discovering that when my health issues began to be resolved or diminished, when I started making changes with my eating habits and my lifestyle. So for me, I discovered that food is medicine. And with the education and the research that I've experienced, I'm super passionate about sharing this with others because I really feel that what you eat matters. I founded Purposeful Eats. Hold on a minute, I'm trying to get to my PowerPoint here. There you go. One moment, please. My screen is not sharing. There we go. All right. Hopefully that's changing. Let me know, Gina, if that didn't change.
It looks good.
Okay, fantastic. So because I believe that what you eat matters, I founded Purposeful Eats, and that really is to offer food coaching and cooking classes, both to adults and to students. So that way it can support you on your journey towards better health. So the topic today is very relevant to me simply because I'm a mom. I have 3 teenagers and now a 5-month-old. So I'm in a season of little sleep. I have high energy, high demands from every direction. So I'm really digging into what I know to try to live that out in my routine day by day, making the lifestyle choices that I'm about to share with you. Because I need the energy every day. So I know I'm not alone. Let me ask you a few questions. Do you awake in the morning feeling tired? And do you find that by mid-afternoon, you've hit a wall? Your energy is depleted and you need something to pick you up, to keep you going. How about, do you experience a burst of energy, say like after 8 p.m.? So you're no longer tired like you were earlier in the afternoon. So you're decided, okay, I have a second wind. I'm just going to stay up and get a few more things done. Well, if you've answered yes to any of those questions, I'm so glad that we get to spend this time together. So my hope is by the end of the session, you'll feel encouraged to know that there are ways that you can enhance your energy, to discover that there are small choices, small things that you can do every day to help boost your energy so you can live your best life. So during our time together, we're going to identify what some energy depleters are. We're going to discover what our energy enhancers are, and then I have several things for us to explore So that way you can explore food options to help boost your energy there. So when we're going to identify our energy depleters, I'm very curious to know which one you resonate with. And if you want to put that in the chat session, that would be really fun for us to be able to see, which one you resonate with the most. So the first energy depleter we're going to touch on is caffeine. It's the go-to for many people who just need that pick-me-up. You might need it to get you started for the day. You might need it all throughout the day. You might need it in special situations. So the caffeine stimulates our central nervous system by temporarily increasing blood pressure and our cortisol levels. So cortisol is the hormone that is produced by our adrenals that helps give us more energy. So in the US, the average consumption of caffeine is about 135 milligrams a day. And that's roughly a 12-ounce cup of coffee. So the FDA actually says that the safe consumption amount is about 400 milligrams. So that could be equivalent to 4 cups of coffee then. We can get it from a variety of sources. So I'm suggesting coffee. I think that's probably the most common. You can do espressos if you want that little bit of big jolt, tea, soda, chocolate, energy drinks, even supplements. But the caffeine experience the experience we get from caffeine as we consume that, it usually kicks in within 30 to 60 minutes after consumption, and it does have a half-life of up to 5 hours. So if you get that jittery or that anxious feeling, it's actually the caffeine interacting with your cortisol, which again is that stress hormone we just talked about. So it's your body is producing the cortisol to keep you going with energy, then you've added more energy on top of it. So that's why a lot of people commonly have that feeling of jitteriness or just maybe some anxiousness. You can develop a tolerance to caffeine over time. You will need to consume more caffeine to kind of overcome that tolerance there. If you have increased cortisol levels over a period of time, it's going to actually wreak more havoc on your body because it's going to be affecting your endocrine system. It's going to affect your adrenals, your pituitary, your thyroid. If you're exceeding 400 milligrams a day, which is not uncommon, you can notice things like disrupted sleep, maybe experiencing irregular heartbeats, high blood pressure, headaches, anxiety, nervousness, irritability, and even dehydration. And I want you to hold on to that thought for just a minute because we're going to touch on dehydration in just a second. So after caffeine, we have sugar. And I don't know about you, but if you haven't noticed, we live in an age that sugar consumption is very, very common, prevalent. Blood sugar imbalance is a very common result when we are depleted in energy. When our blood sugar gets low, that's when we get that signal from our brain that is because the blood sugar is low, we're tired, we might be irritable. So the body is signaling that, okay, we need a quick fix to regulate that sugar and to restore that energy. So a common thing that happens is we have that huge sweet tooth, or we think, oh, I just need a little bit of sugar. I need a jolt to give that energy back. So you might turn to soda. You might grab a candy bar, maybe some cookies, a donut, maybe even an energy drink. But the caution in giving in to those sweet cravings is it's really just a Band-Aid covering the bigger issue. And we're going to touch on that in just a bit. And then there's processed foods. And processed foods are loaded with additives, with fillers, with food dyes, trans fats, hydrogenated oils. All of these our body cannot process as nutrition or as healthy fuel, but it still has to process it. So you're utilizing energy to process something that isn't going to give you the nutrition that you need. So you're actually going to be kind of contradicting what you're trying to do there. It might taste good and it might be emotionally satisfying, but it really isn't going to be solving the bigger picture that we have here. So let's talk about dehydration for a minute. And you might not consider this a food, but it is an element of what we consume on a daily basis. So that's why I feel it's really important to discuss today. So insufficient dehydration or insufficient hydration, it affects our blood pressure. It decreases the blood flow from our brain, which causes us to feel tired and to feel fatigued. And did you know that chronic dehydration can actually reduce the essential amino acids that are needed in order to produce melatonin? So if you're not producing melatonin, your circadian rhythms are going to be thrown off, and it's actually going to make it harder for you to sleep, all because you're dehydrated. Your body actually loses fluids as you sleep. So your body is becoming more dehydrated as you sleep. So if you're not properly hydrated going to bed, after you sleep and you wake up the next day, you actually are going to feel the impact of that even more as the day goes on. And then, so that's going to snowball into sleep deprivation. So did you know that your body is actually going to use 1/3 more energy when you're sleep deprived? So it's again, it's a snowball effect here. When we're awake, the interesting thing is the mitochondria in our cells, especially in our brain, is making both energy and waste. So this waste is known as oxidants. They're actually toxins. And as we sleep, those oxidants or toxins are supposed to be being cleaned out of our brain. It's kind of like a power washing of our brain. So without that power washing or that power cleanse, we actually build up oxidative stress. And again, that prohibits us from being able to properly release those toxins. So it's just a compounding effect at that point. So that's why sleep is so important. So if you're experiencing lack of sleep, you can experience decreased immunity. You might have frequent infections. It can lead to spikes in appetite. Perhaps you have a greater need for more calories because, again, remember we said your body's going to be working 1/3 harder to give you that energy because you're sleep deprived. So then you might start to compensate with eating more food, which can very easily lead to weight gain. And the added nutrients is not a bad thing, but it is going to be a problem if you don't have enough active movement. So as you can see, we're building a cycle here. And the term active movement is going to be different than exercise. And I just want to clarify that because active movement is actually just simply getting up out of a seated position and moving around to allow your heart to pump the blood faster, allow your muscles to actively contract and restrict. Again, that's another way to be able to push the blood throughout your system. So we're talking very simple, walking, maybe going for a walk or walking your dog, simply playing with your kids, taking the steps instead of the elevator, maybe parking back further in the parking lot so you have a greater distance to go, both at the beginning and the end of your day. So when we're talking about exercise is going to be like a planned activity. It's typically structured, it's more timed, and that's still positive, but I wanted to touch on just active movement. A lot of people just don't have enough active movement in their day. So now that we talked about the depleters, we're going to talk about the enhancers. Because as you can see, there was a cycle there. So we're going to drink caffeine because we're tired. And we're tired because we might not be getting enough water throughout the day, and we might not be getting enough adequate sleep. So since we're low on energy, we might decide, oh, we're going to add that candy bar or that sweet tooth, satisfy that sweet tooth. And that's going to, because our body's signaling that we need some more calories because we're using 1/3 more energy. So then we're going to make a choice, and it's a conscious choice. Okay, we're choosing the candy bar, we're choosing the energy drink, but it's going to be filled with sugar, which is just a temporary energizer. It could be filled with hydrogenated fats, but again, I said, your body's not going to process that as nutrition, as fuel, but it is processing it. So because you're tired, you might not get out to get the exercise that you need, or you might not feel like moving around. So then you just decide to rest. So there's the cycle. So I know a lot of those things weren't necessarily food, but you can see how one thing leads to another. And we're in the middle of a situation that is like, okay, we're just low on energy, period. So let's talk about our energy enhancers. So the first thing I want to talk about, if my PowerPoint move here, there we go, is hydration. So water is essential for our survival. We can go 3 weeks without food, but we can only go days without water, less than 7 days, and our bodies will begin to shut down. So how do you know if you're adequately hydrated? And there is a simple equation that you can follow. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your body weight, and then you're going to divide that in half. And that is the number of ounces a day that you should be consuming of water. So there's a couple things to note, though. It's not as cut and dry as that. So I want to just make point out some things here. You really shouldn't exceed more than 100 ounces of water a day, no matter what your starting weight is. When we start to put too much water into our body, it can lead to electrolyte imbalance, and that could be more detrimental to our body. So we're looking to get up to 100 ounces a day. You also want to keep in mind what the weather is like, or the activities that you're doing. So on a hot day like today, which is absolutely beautiful, you're going to be dehydrating faster because of the heat, because of the sweat. It's your body's natural way of cooling down. So you might find that you're thirstier more often and you have a greater need, but your baseline should be, you should be getting at least that half of your body weight in ounces at a minimum every day. Keep in mind too, humidity in the wintertime is just as important to stay hydrated in as it is in the summertime. And in Northeast Ohio, that is always, we always have humidity, whether you actually feel it or not. We live in a very humid environment, so keep that in mind. If you drink coffee, it's very important to understand that coffee is a diuretic, and you should replace it with 1.5 times water. So let's say you start with an 8-ounce glass of water. You need to make sure that you're supplementing with another 12 ounces, did I say water? 8 ounces of coffee, and you need to supplement with 12 ounces of water to replace what that coffee is going to dehydrate you with. So consider how much coffee you're drinking a day, and then start to think, okay, how much water are you drinking a day? And if you're finding that you're drinking more coffee and not enough water, that could be a huge indicator that you're dehydrated, and that could be another reason why you are low on energy. So there are some effective ways to make sure that you're getting enough water. One suggestion I have is take your water bottle, and let's just say you have a 16-ounce water bottle. Put rubber bands around it to represent the number of times you need to refill that water bottle in order to get your minimum amount of hydration for the day. And then every time you finish that bottle of water, you can remove the rubber band, and then you'll know, okay, I need to refill it 3 more times today. And that way it can keep track for you. It's a very simple way to be able to do that. I recommend taking it off rather than putting on, because you might just get a little distracted with that and kind of forget, oh, did I add one on this last time I drank? So every time, let's just say you're sitting at your desk, most often throughout the day, every time you get up to go to the bathroom, make it a habit, drink some water, try to drink at least 8 ounces of water. Maybe every time that you just simply get up from your desk, you can take another swig. So always try to keep your water with you, keep it full. And again, that's adding into your active movement. So that way you're physically getting up away from your desk, and then you're serving two purposes there. You're getting active movement in, and you're getting your hydration in. You can set a timer on your watch, your smartphone or your watch. There are apps out there simply called Drink Water. So do an app search for Drink Water, and that can coordinate again with your phone, with your watch, and it can set reminders for you and remind you, okay, you need to drink right now. And it can help track the amount of water that you're drinking as well. So if you like those kind of things, give that one a try. You also, I realize for some you're thinking, well, I can't drink a lot of water because it makes me have to go to the bathroom at night. I understand that. So the goal is to try to drink as much water as you can at the beginning of your day, and try to taper off by dinner time. Again, you don't want to not drink any water after dinner, but you don't want to be drinking the bulk of your water after dinner, because then, yes, your body's going to be processing that water, and you're going to have the need to go to the bathroom when you're sleeping. So I strongly suggest drinking water the first thing you do when you wake up. I keep a glass of water at my bedside. Because I'm up several times a night to feed the baby, I always take a swig of water when I come back to bed, just to, one, hydrate me, because I know, that's very critical for moms who are nursing, is to make sure you have adequate hydration to be able to produce the amount of breast milk that you need. But I always drink that first thing when I wake up. So as I'm getting ready in the morning, that glass of water is sitting on the countertop and I'm finishing it off. So that way, before I go downstairs and before I choose any other beverages or any other food options, I know I've had at least 8 to 12 ounces of water. So remember back when we talked about the mitochondria as creating oxidants in our brain, and we need those oxidants flushed out. Well, we need to be able to flush all of those toxins out of our body because our body is processing those throughout the night, and we're releasing them. But that glass of water in the morning is going to help flush all of that out of your system. So that way you're ready to start afresh, and you're not reprocessing any of those toxins throughout the day. So try to keep that in mind. Flush those out, drink some water in the morning, and I strongly recommend drinking it before your cup of coffee. I know that might be a little hard for some people. If you find that drinking water is not enjoyable because you don't like the taste, add some citrus to it, maybe lemon, lime, orange. Add some strawberries, fresh strawberries or cucumbers. They lightly flavor the water, making it more enjoyable. I'm considering adding some ice to it on a hot day, so that way it's more refreshing as you're drinking it. And keep this in mind: if you're feeling hungry and you're noticing you're feeling hungry all throughout the day, it could be the reason. The reason could be is that you're actually dehydrated, because your hunger cues and your thirst cues are the same. So if you're noticing that you're hungry and maybe noticing that you're thirsty as well, go to water first. Try to drink at least 8 ounces of water first, and then assess. Give yourself about 10 minutes. And if you're noticing that you're still hungry, okay, stop to think, all right, how much water did I really drink today? Do I need to drink a little bit more water and give it another 10 minutes? Or is this truly a hunger cue and it is time for me to get up to eat? All right. So I'm going to touch on sleep just a little bit here. So adults do need about 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night, and children at least 9 to 12. So if you're looking for a few tips, okay, how can I, promote better sleep? Put away your electronics about 45 minutes to an hour before you go to bed. Electronics are visually stimulating, therefore they're going to be mentally stimulating. They could also be emotionally stimulating. So let's just say, oh, I want to check my emails real quick before I go to sleep. Well, you can check your email and then you can stumble across something that's going to just emotionally charge you. It could be, something that somebody says, or something that makes you think about what you forgot or what you need to do the next day. What that's going to do is that's going to signal to your adrenals a cortisol burst, and then all of a sudden you're going to be having that energy that you don't want to have because you're going to bed, but your brain is starting to work, and you need to, it's not going to stop. So if you can shut all that off, 45 minutes to an hour before bed, you're going to find that you're going to start to sleep more restfully. Consider what your sleep environment's like. Does it promote restfulness? Is there a lack of stimulation from either light or sound? Is it a place of peace? Do you find that it's comfortable? And if it's not, maybe you need to adjust some things in the room. Maybe it's the location of your bed. Maybe it's your pillow. Maybe it's your sheets, or your comforter, or having a ceiling fan. Anything to help promote you to be in a state of relaxation is what's key for the bedroom. You could do some deep breathing exercises. There are apps for that too. But just simply taking deep breaths and calming your body down, putting yourself into a parasympathetic state, which is going to allow you to rest. Maybe journaling or reading. Actually, establishing a routine before bed is very much recommended, because if you can get into the same routine every night, then you're going to be signaling to your body, okay, I'm getting ready for bed. So for example, my husband and I are usually in bed by 10 o'clock at night, and he will read. I try to read, but because I'm so tired sometimes throughout the day, I will open my book and get a page, and then I fall asleep. So the goal is to try to read. It may not necessarily happen. However, that is the routine. We go to bed. The lights are lower. We don't have real bright lights in our room. He and I start to read, and then I'm already ready for bed. So that way I don't get back up again once I lay down in my bed. I've already gotten ready for the evening. So that way, if I do fall asleep reading my book, there's nothing more I need to do than just simply close my book, put it on the nightstand, and turn off the light. So there's not much that'll be mentally stimulating for me there. And then we have get moving. Just add some active movement to your day. So the goal is to have at least 10 minutes an hour. Now, if that's hard, and I recognize, for some, you just need to be at your desk more committed than that. But even anything you can do to help move your spinal fluid is going to be extremely helpful, because the movement of your spinal fluid flushes that spinal fluid into your brain, and that stimulates your brain, stimulates your breathing. That way you can actually start to have more energy. So if you're noticing you're falling asleep at the desk, you can just simply do some twists, do some moves, move up and down, maybe stand up and down out of your chair for a little bit. You're just trying to get that spinal fluid moving. Maybe if you could take a walk, put your, there are stations, that you can make to allow you to be able to walk if you need to be on the computer more often. Maybe just doing some chair yoga, and you can find some great sources online for that. Just simple movements that you can do to get that spinal fluid moving. And then try to find ways to do actual exercise on a continual basis. You're going to aim for a goal of 30 minutes. And if you could do that a day, that's fantastic. Maybe taking longer walks, bike rides, or walking your dog, yoga, running, swimming, any of those things are just fantastic options for getting out and getting moving. All right, so now we're going to touch on food. And I know that was a lot, but it all, as you can see, it all goes hand in hand, and it's very important to consider those things in addition to food. So as we talk about food, there are several things, and I'm going to take a drink here because I'm very thirsty. I'm talking about water, it's making me thirsty. So the key is what we're doing is we need to provide fuel for our body, which in turn is going to provide energy. So a balanced meal is going to be key. So when we talk about a balanced meal, we're talking about macronutrients, which is our proteins, our fats, and our carbohydrates. Carbohydrates in the form of whole grains, whole vegetables, and fruits. And then when we have a balance of macronutrients, we're going to naturally have a balance of micronutrients, and that's going to be our vitamins, our minerals, and our phytonutrients. So finding that balance with your meals each day is really what the goal is. Carbohydrates are going to be our quick fuel foods, and then proteins and fats give us that lasting fuel or that lasting energy. So I like to think of it as like a fire. So when you start a fire using kindling, because that kindling is going to ignite quickly and it's going to generate a large flame. And then we start to add the logs in, and those logs are going to be that long burning source of fuel for the fire. So you can think of your carbohydrates as the kindling. It's going to jumpstart your system. It's going to give you that quick energy, but you need to make sure you have those proteins and fats, so that way you can have that satiation of food to get from meal to meal or from meal to snack. So if you're noticing that you eat something, but you're hungry within an hour to under 2 hours, it's probably a good indicator that you might not have enough protein or fats with your meal. And you may need to take a look and assess, what's the best option for you. So when we're talking about a food plate, my food plate is going to look a little different than what you might see advertised, through the government. So for me, my food plate is going to be half carbohydrates, and these are going to be carbohydrates in the form of fruits and vegetables and whole grains. So as I'm thinking of my dinner plate, and this was my dinner plate last night, I actually had a small side salad, tomatoes, fresh lettuce from the garden, and cucumbers. And I added some tzatziki sauce to that because I wanted a little bit of the dill and the sour cream to be my dressing on that. I also had a half of a big potato or sweet potato. And then I also roasted broccoli. So those were the carbohydrates I had with my meal. Now I realized my eyes were bigger than my stomach, so I didn't finish my salad, which I'll enjoy for lunch today. But again, you can see I had over half of my meal was fruits and vegetables, and some were raw, some were cooked, which allowed, good for digestion, giving that variety of cooking methods in there. You can think, so here are some ideas. Choose some awesome seasonal salads right now. Vegetables are coming in. The farmers markets, they're getting more and more variety now at the farmers market. I was just noticing my garden today. My tomatoes are coming in, my peppers are coming in. So yay, pretty soon I'll have those. But think about a house salad, a simple house salad with some fresh vegetables on it. You could do a caprese salad with fresh tomatoes. You could add cucumber to it if you want, make a tomato cucumber salad. You can add some fresh mozzarella and balsamic dressing. You can cook the veggies to add to your salad. One of my favorite preparations is spinach salad, and then I roast the onions and the mushrooms. So I put that on my spinach warm, and then I'll do a honey mustard bacon dressing with that. Super yummy. I love adding fruit to my salad as well. I have a beet salad that I enjoy. I'll roast the beets. I'll add oranges to it. Some, what do I like to add? I'll either add pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds, and then I'll do some type of either balsamic dressing or a light dressing that I have, a fruity dressing to go with that. A fennel orange salad with cider dressing is super yummy. Think about using fresh herbs. These are fantastic. Herbs help support digestion in a variety of ways. So fresh herbs right now, you can get parsley, you can get cilantro, consider dill is in season. I have a bunch of dill in my garden. Basil is going to be coming into season very soon. Think about ancient grains too. These are fantastic salad toppers. Or you can combine that with a vegetable as well. So think of quinoa, or millet is another one. Wild rice, you can do farro. You can try to roast vegetables instead of eating them raw. So my favorite is broccoli and cauliflower roasted. Those to me, I find them to be rather bitter to eat raw. So if I'm eating them raw, I'd like to have them with a dipper dressing like hummus, something like that. But if I roast them, I think that it brings out the natural sugars in them, and the flavor is fantastic. Consider grilling your veggies this time of year. Zucchini and corn are fantastic on the grill. You can steam them, you can do a light saute, or as we talked about, you can just eat them raw. So those were our carbohydrates. So when we talk about the other two macronutrients, our proteins, that would be your beef, your lamb, poultry. You could do pork, fish, shellfish. Any of preparation of those is fantastic. Grilling them this time of year, my favorite way to have meat is a grilled meat. So it just brings out the natural juices in that in a really nice way. And then don't forget your healthy fats. And you need the healthy fats to help process the carbohydrates and the proteins. So healthy fats we're referring to, I'm talking about olive oil, I'm talking about avocado oil. You can do your nut and your seeds oils like walnut oil, sunflower seed oil, flaxseed oil is more preferred. Walnut oil and flaxseed oil you would use in its cold preparation. You never want to heat those because they're highly volatile oils. But your avocado oils, your avocado oil, coconut oil, those are all oils that you can cook with. So those are our macronutrients. And when we eat those macronutrients, we're going to get that nice variety of micronutrients. So another concept that I love sharing with my students is eating the colors of the rainbow, or just I say eat the rainbow. I can't emphasize this enough because each grouping or color of fruits and vegetables has its own medicinal properties to it. So when you're eating a variety of colors, you're getting a full spectrum of those different nutrient components that's really going to support your body. So this could be a webinar for another day, but there's great information out there. But if anything, I would just highly suggest making sure you have a lot of color on your plate. We eat with our eyes actually before we ever eat with our mouth. So if you can make it visually appealing, adding lots of color in there, it's going to be more attractive to you, more enticing, and actually help to boost your mood for the food at that time. Another tip is to make sure that you're eating meals throughout the day versus eating small meals and then at the end of the day, you're eating your large meal. It does take a lot of work for your body to process food. So if there's any way you can adjust that, it would be highly recommended to eat your larger meals before 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then eat your lighter meals in the evening. Now I realize, in the US, that's kind of a very backwards way of thinking. A lot of European countries, that's more of the mindset that they have. Not all, but I think for us in the US, it's like, well, we can eat a light breakfast, eat a medium-sized lunch, and then go for it at dinner time. So again, there's nothing wrong with that, but it is going to be more difficult for your body to process and digest. So if there's any way you can support your body, if you can balance those meals out throughout the day, that's just going to be less stress on your body in the evening. Again, and less stress that you need so that way you can get a good night's rest. So consider making sure you include a morning meal, and that can be at any time that works best for you. But again, when you're sleeping, the term breakfast is you're breaking the fast that you had from overnight. So making sure that you eat something, and the goal would be something with protein and a fat in it to make sure you're getting that fuel boost that you need to sustain you until when you're ready to eat lunch. Consider adding healthy snacks. So maybe you want to eat smaller meals throughout the day, but that's not sustainable between meals. So you add a healthy snack. Excuse me. You could do nuts and cheese. You could do hummus and veggies, maybe fruit and a nut butter. You could do a smoothie if you feel like something a little bit more substantial. So, kind of assess, where are you? What does your food routines look like throughout the day? Making sure you're getting enough water in there, and then assessing your meals. And that might be enough to just boost your energy throughout the day, and give you what you need so that you're feeling more confident. And one little tip here, if you're noticing that you are craving sugar regularly, it could be a signal that you are not eating enough protein. So give that a thought. If you're grabbing, your desire is to grab a candy bar at 2:00 in the afternoon, maybe substitute that candy bar with some nuts and dried fruits. You have the sweet from the dried fruit, and you have the protein from the nuts, and that might satisfy your sugar craving there. So keep that in mind. All right, and two other things I wanted to introduce you to. You may or may not be familiar with them. One is adaptogens. I love adaptogens. And these are super fun to talk about, and they're gaining more momentum now. You'll find there's a number of companies that are offering adaptogens now. You might know them by their alternative names, not necessarily adaptogen. So maybe things like ginseng, ashwagandha, holy basil, reishi mushroom, lion's mane. All of those are adaptogens. So an adaptogen is a plant or a mushroom that helps your body respond to stress, to anxiety, to fatigue, to bring your body back into balance, by targeting specific stressors. So again, these are foods, but you'll find them in the form of plants and mushrooms. And just like the examples I gave you, you can take them in a variety of different ways. You can take them, as their leaves. You might be able to enjoy them in a powder, take them as a tincture, maybe as a supplement. You always want to check with your physician first. Any of the things I'm sharing today is not medical advice. It's just information that I'm providing to you to help support you and lead you in directions that you can talk to your physician about to make sure that this is right for you. So if you are curious about adaptogens, it might be a conversation that you need to have with your physician. Because there are certain adaptogens that can interact with medications. So that's why it's really important. The beautiful thing about adaptogens is it's going to give you a caffeine-like response to your body without the headaches, without the jitteriness, without the nervousness or anxiety. So again, it's a wonderful way to support your body without getting the harmful side effects. So there's a few that I want to just review with you today. We're going to talk about ashwagandha, and I actually have ashwagandha in my kitchen. I have it in a powder form because I love to put it in my food. So I will often put it in smoothies. This has a pretty distinct flavor to it, so I prefer to have it with something that kind of masks that flavor. You can also get it as a tea, and you can make a tea out of it. But ashwagandha is going to help fight fatigue. It's going to boost your energy, improve your concentration. It helps relieve stress. So enjoy it, maybe at breakfast time, like I said, in a smoothie. You can add it into a beverage because it is a powder, and it will go, what's the right word I'm looking for? Oh, excuse me. Anyway, it'll go into your liquid pretty easily. You can add it to a milk or a non-dairy milk and enjoy it that way. Moringa is another one. So I also have that in my kitchen. This one is a green powder, a green plant source. This one, you'll notice, is white. Moringa is actually regarded as the Earth's best energy enhancer. So it's going to encourage physical and mental balance. So its leaves contain vitamins, nutrients, amino acids that's going to help give you that natural burst of energy. But again, without the caffeine, it's going to help regulate stress, giving you a sense of ease. And it will give you that energy or alertness without a buzz like caffeine does. So it's a superfood that's available as a whole leaf. You can get it as a powder or as a tea, a tablet, or a capsule. It too has an earthy flavor. If you have tasted or like matcha, moringa can be a great companion to matcha because it already has that earthy flavor to it. It is green too, so it'll just make a very beautiful hot or cold beverage there. You can also add it into soups or maybe into cooked baked goods. You can make a moringa muffin. That's one way that I like to use this adaptogen is I'll put it in my baked goods and then you won't notice the flavor in it at all. And then reishi mushrooms. This is one of my my go-tos as far as a tea that I enjoy drinking. These are powerful adaptogens that again help support stress and your immune system. So you can enjoy it as a tea, as I said. It does come in a powder form as well, in liquid too. While it's a mushroom, it doesn't have quite the taste of a mushroom, like as if you were to eat it, but it definitely has an earthy flavor to it. So you can enjoy it in the evening, and it's going to help promote sleep and help promote relaxation. Consider adding it to hot chocolate. You can also add it to soups or smoothies as well. The blend that I like to enjoy, I actually enjoy making it as a latte, and that's my favorite way. I'll drink it both hot and cold that way. And that's my favorite starts of the day. I don't drink coffee because I don't do well with caffeine, period, whether it's coffee or tea. So for me, I had to find some other ways. And these adaptogens have been super helpful in giving me that energy that I need, especially if I'm waking up tired after being up multiple times throughout the night to feed the baby. But again, I noticed it gives me energy and I'm not experiencing the side effects that the caffeine has. And then last but not least, let's talk about essential oils. So these are concentrated compounds that come from plants, and they're used most typically in a variety, most typically in aromatherapy, but it can be used in a variety of ways. They can be inhaled, which is your quickest response to the body by diffusing it and letting it permeate the air. You could also dilute it and put it on your skin topically, so that way it's absorbed. Your feet are a great location to be able to do that. So I've included this in my morning routine. As I'm drinking my water, I'm actually putting a little essential oils on my feet because it's actually your most porous part of your skin. But essential oils, because they're plants, you can actually use them as food as well. So consider let's talk about, change my screen here so that way you can see what I'm referring to. So from the mint family, think about peppermint, think about spearmint. So just simply inhaling these essential oils is going to give you that boost of energy, help take away a headache if you have it because you're tired or anxious. And but also consider it as the whole food. So put mint into your teas. You can create a tea simply from mint leaves. Put it into another beverage. So add it to your water. Allow that to you'll want to muddle the leaves a little bit to allow the oils to come out, and you can put it in your water and have a flavored water that way. Think about citruses. So orange oil or lemon oil is fantastic. You can add those to your waters as well, or your beverages. You can add it to cooking too. But think of it as the whole food, and the whole food is going to offer the same support as the oil will. And then herbs such as rosemary. This one also fantastic for helping to boost your energy. So that's it. Those are all the things that I wanted to share with you. I know I've talked a lot. So Gina, are there some questions that we can answer? And I'm just going to set my workstation up here to show you 2 recipes that we have for today.
There is a question here and it says, can you tell us the brands you use of adaptogens?
The brands. Okay. There's a variety out there. Tulsi, Organic Tulsi is going to be a brand that has several adaptogenic teas. I think another one.
Can you say that again, Tulsi?
Organic Tulsi, Tulsi, is one brand that's very common in most grocery stores. Other ones you're going to find more online sources. I have a brand called Rasa, R-A-S-A, and that's the one that I enjoy the most. And they have several different varieties of adaptogenic blends of beverages. I could see the logo in my mind, but I can't think of what the name of it is. So I'll have to do a blog post on this and be able to offer some helpful suggestions. Or if you want to reach out to me by email, I can send you something that way. And that might be a little bit easier for me to answer that question because my brain is not thinking of things at the moment.
That's great. No, I'll pop your email into the chat for everyone. And Jeanne, I
Yeah.
want to ask you, is it okay to mix all of these? Like, can you mix ashwagandha and moringa? Is it okay to use it with like turmeric? And I know like, there's all of these different things we should be adding in. Is it safe
Right.
to put them all together?
It is. You'll find some of them, the flavor profile, you will not enjoy mixing, but you could do something like ashwagandha and turmeric and make a fantastic beverage that way. If you drink a golden milk latte, you can add a little bit of ashwagandha to it. I would caution you to start off small, start off with maybe a fourth to a half a teaspoon and adjust to the flavor. Because like I said, it has a distinct flavor to it. The bag that I had, it recommended up to a tablespoon. I added that into a hot chocolate the one time and I didn't like it. It was just too much for me. So again, a little bit is still going to serve you. The more you can consume, obviously, is going to kind of enhance your experience with the adaptogen. However, you have to do it to taste too.
Great. Thank you. I already have these in my cart on Amazon. I added them while you were talking.
I highly suggest going with things that are organic, simply because the regulation for both growing and how it gets into our country, if it's coming out of the country, is going to give you the most nutritious, nutrient-dense source for those products.
Perfect.
So,
thank you.
All right, so 2 recipes. You should see those on your screen there. And I can make these available too if you'd like to either sign up for my newsletter from my website or email me. We'll be sure to get these recipes to you, or take a screenshot of this with your phone real quick so you have it. But the watermelon salad is very seasonal, perfect for this time of the year. What I love about the salad is you are going to be hitting several of these points that we talked about. Watermelon is extremely hydrating, so you're going to get your added water content there. It has natural sugars in it, so you're going to get that nice sweetness without adding added sugar into this. Feta cheese is going to be our protein component for the salad. The mint is going to be the energizing component. I just picked this out of my garden this morning. So I'm starting off with just some diced watermelon. Now, a key for picking out a ripe watermelon is a couple things. One, you want to look for that yellow spot on the bottom of your watermelon. This just indicates that your watermelon is ripe. It's ready to go. You want to find one that's heavy for its size. And some of them will have veining on it. This one does not, but some of them will have like very dark veins. It kind of looks like maybe something pierced the skin and then it kind of healed like a scab. That dark veining just simply means that this watermelon was pollinated by bees. So again, that's just all ensuring you're getting a nice sweet watermelon. So mine is very sweet, nice rich red color here. So to this, I'm just going to add, I sliced some onions very, very thin. If you have a mandolin slicer, that would be even better. Pickled onions in this recipe are fantastic. It kind of pares down the pungency of the onion. I'm not a huge raw onion fan, so that's my preferred way to enjoy onions. I'm just going to add the feta cheese to this. Going to add the chopped mint, and this was 2 cups before I chopped it, or excuse me, a half a cup before I chopped it. And I just did a kind of a julienne cut to that, leaving it a little chunkier. That's the way I enjoy it. You could do a really fine chop to it if you prefer that. Then the dressing is super simple. We're just doing, I have a 1/4 cup of olive oil and then 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. That's all. To that, I'm going to add just a little bit of salt. Mix that up, and then you're going to pour that over the watermelon. And I would suggest allowing it to sit and allow the flavors to blend together for at least 10 minutes. You can leave it at room temperature. You can put it back in the refrigerator, whichever is your preference, depending on how quickly you're going to be eating it. But simply mix those 2 together, and then you're going to lightly toss the salad just to disperse that beautiful dressing, and then you're all set. So nice and refreshing. I highly recommend refrigerating your watermelon first as you make the salad. and then you have a beautiful salad to enjoy. Extremely hydrating. And then the other recipe that I wanted to put together is a smoothie recipe. And this one is going to be using ashwagandha in it. So let me grab, I have two things out of the freezer I need to grab. So excuse me for a moment. I love smoothies. They're fantastic for me as a breakfast choice to make sure that I'm getting the fruit that I need for the day. Plus, in this type of weather, I prefer to drink smoothies, something cold in the morning. So I'm going to be using frozen blueberries for this because I want my smoothie to be nice and slushy. You can use fresh blueberries if you'd like, but you'll just notice the consistency of your smoothie is going to be more runny. So to that, we're going to be adding some ice cubes. Everything I put in a bowl beforehand, and now it's stuck in a bowl. Oh, I'll have to get some fresh ice. I'm going to add just 2 dates. So the dates are the sweetener for the smoothie. As I said, the ashwagandha is going to have a little bit of flavor to it. I'm only going to add 2. You can add up to 3, but as you put it in the food processor, that's going to process really nicely. You won't notice the texture of the dates at all. To that, I'm adding a 1/2 cup of spinach, and then we have our ashwagandha powder. I'm going to include that, and some cinnamon. Cinnamon is fantastic. Did you know it helps support blood sugar regulation? So that's going to be key. I'm going to grab a few more ice cubes here. And then to that, we're simply going to add some milk. I'm doing almond milk. That's typically what I drink. And I'm not sure this is going to be enough. It's a 1/2 cup, and I was second guessing myself as I was writing that recipe. So you may need to add a little bit more. But to this, I'm simply going to put it on my handy dandy mixer here. I have a Vitamix. That's one of my favorite tools to use. Beautiful thing about a Vitamix is it takes that ice and it pulverizes it, so you don't have huge chunks. But blue boosting smoothie, so you have your ashwagandha in there, you have blueberries. Blueberries are super antioxidants. So we talked about those oxidants that our brain is releasing as we sleep at night. Well, this food is going to help to combat those oxidants, just supporting your body that way. The spinach in there is our dark leafy greens. Dark leafy greens give us energy. It actually helps decline cognitive decline. So it's going to help support your brain. Oops, I see something coming up. So hopefully this is. And then ashwagandha is going to help boost your energy, improve your concentration, and relieve your stress. So I'm getting some errors on my screen. I hope that, I don't know if that has to do with the Zoom call or not, or it might just be my applications here. But, are you still there, Gina?
Yeah, I think you're good.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to stop my share. There we go. All right. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining me in the kitchen. Thank you for allowing me to share a little bit about boosting your energy with food. I hope that you found this informative and encouraging. You can do this. And if there's any way I can support you on that journey, please reach out. I'd love to be able to help you in that way. Oh, here's my smoothie.
Jeanne, thank you so much. This was really fantastic. Great information. And I just want to ask, we just have a couple minutes, but does anybody want to come off mute? You have a question or a comment you'd like to share? Okay, well, Jeanne's email is in the chat. Be sure to copy it. You can click those 3 dots next to the chat there and copy the address. It's Jeanne@purposefuleats.com. Also, I put a link to her website in the chat, purposefuleats.com. Totally worth checking it out. And Jeanne, this was wonderful. So grateful to you. And literally, I'm ordering my ashwagandha and moringa now.
Awesome. Well, let me know how you decide to use it. I'd be curious to hear that.
Absolutely.
Sure. Well, thank you, everyone. It was great to have you on today.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.